Hello, my name is Delaine Rubio. I'm an MBA student at Alice US. Today's presentation will be in regards to the Chicago market study. Table of contents, I will be reviewing the market introduction, market makeup, current statistics, trended data, market breakdowns, comparable markets, types of business, and pipeline. Introduction. So the Chicago market is located in Chicago, Illinois. Chicago is in Cook County, Illinois, with a population of 2.6 million in 2021. It is the third largest city in the US. Economic statistics. Cost of living is 106.9, highly dependent on tourism and business travel. Primarily known for architecture, food, and mobster history. Known for the museums and cultural gems, which has made this an epicenter for travel tourism. Next, we'll be talking about the market makeup. So submarket breakdown, they're broken down into 7 submarkets. So that is Chicago Airport, Chicago CBD, Chicago DuPage, Chicago North, Chicago Northwest, Chicago South, and Chicago Southwest. If you look closely, Chicago CBD is the largest submarket, and this is estimated by the number of rooms. And then it's followed closely by the Chicago South. Others tend to be much smaller. Properties and rooms by scale. So here we have a breakdown by chains. So we have luxury, upper upscale, upscale chains, upper mid-scale chains, economy, and independence. So if you look here, the largest scale groups are the upper upscale with about 21,000 rooms. Then it's followed closely by upper mid-scale, upper scale, and then independence and economy, and then mid-scale and luxury, which both make up about 5,000. Properties and rooms by class. So here we have the breakdown by class. If you look closely, upper upscale is the largest class, followed then by upscale and upper mid-scale, which are similar in class size, and then it's followed by luxury class, which is the small class in the Chicago market. So here we'll look at Chicago top chains by number of rooms. So if you look at this chart, the Hyatt Regency is the largest hotel with over 4,000 rooms. Then it's the Congress Plaza Hotel, which is the next largest with over 1,000 rooms, and then other hotels a little less than that. So Chicago market key statistics. So if you look here, supply, demand, and revenue are annualized, and this is in US dollars. Next, we'll be talking about trended data. So if you look here, we have Chicago room and supply demand percent change. If you look closely, supply numbers are steady. Demand is not as strong during July 2001 and July 2002. Demand was outpacing supply during July 2010 and 2011. But if you look towards current dates, it seems to be dropping. Chicago market actual supply and demand. So if you look here, it had steady increases in supply and demand over time. But then with 2020 pandemic, you see those numbers decline. Chicago market occupancy and ADR percent change. And again, this is 12-month moving average from January to April 2020. Occupancy numbers declining in the start of 2020 as they are now below 5%. And again, this is impact that the COVID-19 pandemic has caused. Actual occupancy and ADR. If you look here, since 2019, occupancy and AD have steadily increased. Occupancy decreases in the start of the global pandemic in 2020. Next, we will look at market breakdown. So submarket, Chicago by submarket, supply and demand percent change. So again, the effects of the pandemic, demand goes down in all submarkets. ADR and occupancy percent change by submarket. Chicago market is seeing a decline across all submarkets due to the pandemic. And here, if we look at actual ADR and occupancy by submarket, Chicago CBD had the strongest ADR. Occupancy was above 55 across all submarkets. Occupancy and ADR percent change by class. If you look here, we're seeing a significant decreases in ADR and occupancy across the board. All segments have lowered ADR except for luxury class. Luxury class had the biggest decrease in occupancy. Supply and demand percent change by class. Demand down in all classes. Again, this is effects of the pandemic. Luxury class seems to be hit the hardest, and independent standing the strongest. Actual occupancy and ADR by class. Here we see that luxury class had the strongest ADR. Occupancy was below 100 across the board. So comparable markets. I chose the 6 biggest cities in the US to compare with the Chicago market, and those are Phoenix, Arizona, Miami, New York, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, and Houston. So Chicago versus comparable markets and supply and demand percent change. Here you see the difference within Houston, New York, Las Vegas, Chicago, Miami, Los Angeles, and Phoenix. Occupancy and ADR percent change. All markets saw a significant decrease in occupancy. Houston had the hardest hit. Occupancy and ADR dropped the most. Las Vegas had the largest drop in occupancy. Miami and Chicago had the same drop in occupancy. Los Angeles and Chicago stood strongest with ADR. Markets ADR and occupancy. New York has the highest actual ADR and occupancy. Houston had the lowest ADR and occupancy, and Chicago came in 4th in occupancy and ADR. Rev and RevPAR percent change. Here you see that New York leads in RevPAR, and Chicago slightly above average compared to comparable markets. Next, we'll talk about types of business. So we look at weekday, weekend actual occupancy for 2015 through 2019 annual 2020 year to date. Chicago has the strong weekend occupancy. Occupancy is slightly below on the weekday compared to the weekend occupancy. Occupancy remained steady throughout 2015 and 2019, but then again, pandemic impact has a significant effect with occupancy, which is at a significant low. Here we see that ADR slightly higher on weekdays. 2020 again decreases in attempt to maintain businesses and operations. Seasonality monthly occupancy for Chicago, 2019 had the strongest occupancy. Occupancy is pretty steady throughout the last 5 years, which was above about 68%. 2020 once again being affected by the pandemic, occupancy dropping significantly. ADR has been fairly flat throughout 2015, 2019, throughout every month of the year. In 2018 and 2019, you see a dip in ADR during November and December. 2020, you begin to see the effects at the start of the pandemic. Next, we'll talk about pipeline data. Here, supply changes by class, excluding independent. So if we look closely, mid-scale is a small segment that has not changed much since 2015. Upper upscale had the most significant decrease in 2020 due to the pandemic. Room supply independence. Here we see 2018 had the most supply count. 2020 again had low supply due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Room supply existing pipeline. So here we see upper upscale has the most rooms in constructions, followed closely by upscale. Independent has the most rooms in planning. Upper mid-scale has the most rooms in final planning. Summary. So in summary, we have learned that Chicago is a market dominated by upper upscale and upper mid-scale hotels. Upper upscale has taken advantage of the pandemic to complete renovations. Chicago has managed to stay above 50% in occupancy and above 80% in ADR since 1995. And Chicago seems to be coming in fourth in RevPAR in compared to its comparable cities. Takeaways. Independents are small and static. There is continued growth for upper upscale and mid-scale segments. Overall, the industry remains steady year-round. Again, COVID-19 has significantly impacted the hotel industry in 2020, and we still see some of those effects in some part of 2021. Looking ahead, the pandemic has again impacted the hotel industry like no other. Recovery will take a few years to get back to what the hotel industry looked like 2 years ago. For the future, hotel segments have used the pandemic as an opportunity for renovation, which will help prepare for recovery, which can result in a bounce back for the hotel industry. And that is it. Hope you all enjoyed. Thank you and have a great day.